I feel like I got hit by a car on the 5-rep max shoulder to overhead.
So if you guys feel like you've been hit by a car, thank you for doing all the workouts. We know that they were tough, but hopefully you had a lot of fun doing them.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
No, for real though. The main intent of this competition this weekend was, it's tough out there right now. We get that. We wanted to find a way to bring community together, to have something fun in training right now. And we understand like circumstances weren't perfect for everyone. Not everyone had equipment to everything. So we did our best to just come up with a fun weekend of tests and challenges that allowed anyone that's a part of the Training Think Tank community or maybe is new to it to kind of hop in and just throw down for a weekend.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it was making sure that there was some competitive fire for people like Travis or Noah that actually made the games and don't know when they're competing, where they're competing, and just making sure that their training is not just like all over the place, where it's really important because that's their job. But really, I think this competition was about us building a community and all of the people of all levels of fitness just having some competitive outlet. I know for me, it was a very nice distraction from the pandemic and the economic issues, and just having an opportunity to come in, pour myself into a workout, look at the leaderboard, laugh, talk shit back and forth. I know I'm not gonna win anything or win any prizes, but that's really, I think, the biggest thank you is for all the people that aren't professional athletes that did take it seriously and contributed to the leaderboards. Thank you for being a part of it. I had a lot of fun, and I hope you guys had a lot of fun.
I had
as
a
well.
blast. It was awesome. It was
I think
tough.
that's like the coolest thing is the community is like so diverse. So you have some people that do really well in some workouts and really poorly on others, but it's like, let's have some fun, let's compete and see where you kind of stack up against the Noahs and the Travises and all those that were at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, for sure. All right, event recaps.
Engine
I think
test.
we should start with the engine test one
Engine
because I
test
beat
number
Brennan.
one.
That's really the only one that matters.
So if you're following the engine path, it was actually a really good test of what some of the training in the past 4 weeks has led into, a lot of power-based work. The engine path is one of our training paths in the design that is focused on primarily developing better capacity, more specific to like the machines and running, mostly in the sport of CrossFit. So this test was intended to be something very simple, very short, very powerful to kind of reflect on some of the training that we've done. And I wanted to choose a time domain that hasn't necessarily been tested before so that people had to basically use their experience of their own previous tests that they've done. So like, I don't know anyone that says, oh yeah, I know my 70 cal row time. Yeah. You know your 500 maybe, you know your 1K, but the 70, it was kind of like, there was a little bit of skill involved of like, how do I pace this? And I would say an overwhelming amount of people in the group said that they overpaced it a little bit. Yeah. And then only a couple kind of like bit off more than they can chew. I overpaced it on the first attempt that I did and I actually redid it.
Oh, so you did 2 attempts.
Yeah, is that against the rules?
We make the rules.
One and done, man.
What'd y'all think of it?
I thought it was really interesting because, so I have a framework for what a 500 meter is. I have a framework for what 1,000 was. I didn't know how long it was going to be or how, like, and if you overpace it and you have like 15 calories left and you fully redlined, you can waste an extra 20 seconds just getting those done. Yeah. So figuring out kind of how I was going to approach it was an interesting challenge. I think at the end, it just was competitive instinct. I had your score and I was like, all right, well, I know I'm close enough on some of this stuff that I'm just going to try to hold on to that pace for as long as possible. And it ended up being like just at the verge of what my capacity was able to deal with. But watching some other people do it and hearing some other people do it, I feel like a lot of people lost a lot of time in that back half or did what you said where they just like didn't go out fast enough. Yeah. And if you don't go out fast enough, you can't really sprint in a workout like that.
You gotta make it up.
That's what I found is I didn't overpace it because I pushed pretty hard for where my capacity is on the rower right now. But I asked Mike right before the workout, I said, hey, is 22 to 2,300 okay? And he never responded. So I just held that the entire time. You knew what you were
I did the test and texted them that morning and I was like, just finish it. And they were like, what's your time? And I was like, nope.
I needed it because then I would have been able to maybe kick. It was pretty hard for me still. Like I poured everything out, but I think I would have started a little bit faster. That's what's cool about those novel tests though. Like you said, you kind of wanted to do that. For those that didn't see the leaderboard though, we had a guy go 134. Was that what Jimmy did?
134.
And Cal did 126. I mean, those are just, so some reference, we were like all in the 150s, right? Like, I mean, you did it again, but still, that is just insane how fast and powerful some people are.
Yeah, I mean, Cal was rowing like 22 to 2,300, which was a little around the same split I was holding on my first attempt.
Yeah, it's insane.
And then Jimmy was 2,800 to 3,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's a sub 120, 500 meter pace held for
longer
than a
700 meters
500.
almost, like 650 to
Yeah,
700.
probably 600.
Super
right?
impressive.
Because an extra 15 seconds.
Yeah.
All right,
Awesome
so
job.
engine test 2. You might as well just do both the engine tests.
Yeah,
since you
sure.
started.
So this one originally was written as rowing and running. Mainly because, again, like it being an engine test, I wanted it to be mostly cyclical and on the machines. But we thought, you know what, we need to have a test that allows anyone without any equipment to do, which is, I actually became a huge fan of this test when we switched the rowing to air squats. Because again, like a simple movement, we didn't need any equipment. And this honestly was like, leg endurance, squat endurance capabilities, but also running. I felt like a really slow runner in the middle of this test, and it was a little bit longer. We, maybe next time I'd like to have something a little longer tested, but I think just for the sake of the volume of the entire weekend, this was a really good test and really challenging. What do you guys think of it?
I really feel like it highlighted how important shuttle runs are in the sport. So it might not be tested in a specific workout, but if you're doing a workout in like an old regional setting or in a sanctional setting and you have to run up and down the floor for transitions, I noticed when we were watching back our videos how much lateral movement I had every time I was turning around, and like how much extra time and effort that was to try to accelerate and get back to speed. And when you watch some of the people that were going faster, they're going 2 minutes faster over the course of that workout, not really saving that much time on the air squats. It's literally just running back and forth, staying low, accelerating quickly, which I think is an important just skill to have for general fitness if you want to play recreational sports or if you want to compete in CrossFit. So I think it was a cool thing that I would like to integrate more frequently. And I think the 50-foot was a good distance. It was better than the 25-feet shuttles that we've done in a throwdown because you could kind of get up to speed.
A little bit of speed, yeah. For me, I liked it because it was very exposing on how your running is with just the slightest bit of any type of fatigue.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, quad fatigue. My running mechanics went to shit after like the second round. I looked like I was just kind of like scoot, gliding, power walking. Just trying to figure out a way to keep moving fast.
Yeah, and I think it kind of highlights the little technical aspects, kind of like what you're saying, but like some people don't change of direction.
Yeah.
And not that you're sprinting full speed in that workout, there just would be no way to do that. But that little bit of like sink your hips, get your foot right on the line, then cut instead of going past it. Those were the little things that made the difference in that workout.
Yeah. And air squat speed.
Air squat speed
people
for
that
sure.
were really fast. Like watching Noah's air squats, I'm just like,
insane.
geez, for 250 reps with a mile of running in there and just staying at that type of a cadence is crazy.
Yeah.
My legs were burning a lot.
It reminded me of the old CrossFit.com workout way back in the day, the 4 rounds for time of 50 air squats, run 400 meters.
Yeah.
Remember that
Yeah.
classic
Yeah,
Chris
yeah.
Bueller video? That
Yeah.
was pretty awesome.
I mean, it's similar to Murph too. Obviously, there's a lot of other volume in there, but like that's the air squat speed you have to be really competitive in a workout like that now.
Which we will be doing.
Yeah. We can talk about that.
All right, event strength.
Strength
You wanna do the
events.
two strength
So
events?
the first strength event was 20 squat cleans and then into the max snatch. I really like this one for 2 reasons. One, because Mike didn't hit his max snatch.
Nowhere near it. That was a bad day, man.
But 2, I think it really made people uncomfortable going from a clean to a snatch. I think that was like, there's some some neural confusion or something. You saw the videos that I watched as we reviewed some of the videos, people, their first lift, even though they may have hit it at a lighter load, you could be like, the wobble is
so
crazy.
wobbly, yeah.
So I thought it was a pretty good test. It was crazy seeing the scores. I mean, low 140s for a lot of people. It
So
just,
fast.
I mean, there's no way I could even come close to that right now.
And
so.
then hitting a 270 snatch.
Yeah,
It was
that's
crazy.
the difference I saw. Like I went as hard as I could on the cleans and was on my knees after it, trying to recover before the snatch. And I watched Travis go, and 20 seconds later, he's like,
Yeah.
all right, well,
At the 3-minute mark, he took his first lift.
yeah.
Like
and
he
I was
had it
like,
set
I'm
up.
gonna wait till 5 minutes. So,
I think that this is a good test, though, for the open style workouts we're seeing. So like the 17.3s, the 19.2s, the 20.4s, because you go from the lighter barbell and the best in the world are cycling it at a pretty fast pace. But then as soon as they get to that, that's 315 or 205 bar, whatever it is, they're able to, tighten their belt and go. Whereas most of us, where we lose the time is going to be that last bar because we can't hit it, or you just have to take a minute or 2 minute break. Whereas like Travis is on the barbell right away.
It's a good challenge too, the switch of movement, because normally like 17.3, 19.2, it's the same movement and the load's getting just incrementally heavier. This was weird because it was 225 for cleans. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to take that many lifts, and I don't want to strip the weight off because I'm going to lose a minute of time stripping it and putting it back on. And I saw Mike open at 225, so I'm like, I'm just going to open there. And that first lift just felt so strange.
Yeah,
like it just felt like a different movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's because it was a different movement.
Yeah. It felt like exactly what it was.
I think too, not to spend too much time on this one, but the speed that's necessary on quick setup for cycling heavy cleans like that. So that's the difference, I think, from a 144 time like mine or Travis and Noah. We were all like neck and neck versus someone like Jimmy. His ability to basically just get down to the bar faster and not having to basically reach, set up like you would like a typical Olympic lift. It's kind of like more sport based.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say about this is I think there are a couple different ways you can attack this. I think you guys would probably just say do singles, but I had somebody that did 8 touch and go and then 12 fast singles and still get a top 3 or top 4 score. I don't know what the over. I think it was 144. Awful. But some people, like if I had the ability to do 225, that's what I would do. I would try to open with a big set and then fast singles because I think that works better for the way that my body works right now. So I think that's kind of cool that there's different ways to attack it.
All right. Next strength test.
Strength test. This is where Mike did a natural knee extension at 320.
Man, this one hurt my soul.
Yeah. Should we tell the whole story?
Sure, yeah. You want my story? I'll make it sound way cooler.
Yeah. Go ahead, you tell the story.
I'll let him explain the event first a little bit.
When we were writing this, originally we had it as 2 different workouts, and it was just kind of like back to back, right? So you did the chin over bar hold, where your chin had to be past the vertical and horizontal plane, and then it was you rest, and then you go into the shoulder overhead, and then Max was like, hey, let's just make it 1 running clock, which I actually think worked out really well, and just with the scoring system too.
I feel like it would have been cooler with a little bit shorter of a time window. I feel like I had maybe too much time to lift.
But we were unsure how long people were going to hold and what it was going to feel like, so those are things that we can learn from for sure. I agree. After watching some videos too, I felt like people had a lot of time.
I was also not sure how long you'd be impacted after holding by this to go into something overhead. But
it's hard.
Yeah, it was just a straight, go ahead, man.
Well, I was just going to say the most fun was watching people's videos and seeing who was shaking and who wasn't.
Oh, man. Dude. I love reading the comments. Everyone's comments were like shaking like crazy. And I was like, I watched my video though, and I don't look like I'm moving, but in my mind as I'm doing it, I'm like,
earthquake.
It was pretty brutal, and I think again it was cool to have a novel test. Like people have done some kind of like bent arm hang or something, but just something different into the shoulder overhead. I don't know if it affected. Did it feel like it affected your shoulder overhead?
It affected my elbows a tiny bit, but I don't know if it affected my shoulder overhead. I think just a good thing for people to realize that isometric strength for gymnastics training is like one of the most important things to train. If you think about any gymnast, they're doing hollow body holds, which is an isometric, L-sit, which is an isometric. They're doing all sorts of shapes where you're basically just holding in place. And I think if you want to get the ability for your elbows to tolerate a lot of pegboards, a lot of rope climbs, a lot of strict muscle ups, is just a good training tool.
Yeah.
And the first time we just decided to make it a test. So it was kind of interesting to see what happens when you take something that we use for training not that frequently and say, okay, do it for as long as you can. Yeah. And it just really challenged people.
I like it because it kind of leveled the playing field too on some things, right? Like you could have any background in sport and not have done CrossFit that long or done this for 15 years or 10 years or whatever. And it was kind of like level across the board because like the times were all over the place.
My 230-pound body was on a level playing field.
It wasn't necessarily fair for you. You had the shoulder overhead though.
Yeah, that's the same argument with any gymnastics.
True.
But I thought it was fun.
Yeah, so that test went poorly for both of us. So at first I was like, this is one of the first tests I could beat Travis in. And we did it head to head with one another and he broke me. I fell off at 33 seconds. And then I took my first lift at 282, which was above. I thought at first, I was like, I'm just gonna hit 275. Like, I have no idea what I could do for this. I failed a 295 jerk 2 weeks ago in training. So I was like, to try to do 275 for 5 would be like a big win. And then in my warm-ups, I was like, fuck that, I'm gonna go bigger. So I did 282 and then I went to 297. I missed my 5th jerk, which felt like 5,000. It went like from this is easy, this is easy, this is easy.
4 and 5,
I just broke my collarbone lowering it. And I had like 3 minutes left and I was like, that was so heavy, I definitely can't do that. And I was sitting over there talking and you were like, you got time? And I was like,
Yeah,
I
try again.
have to give myself an opportunity. And then I missed my 5th attempt and lost my shit. It was not my proudest moment.
That's the hardest I've laughed in a while.
I haven't seen you get it crushed by a barbell the way that I saw you get crushed by that 5th rep when it came or after your 4th rep. It just hit you and you're like,
You can hear it in the audio. It's
Getting punched in the gut.
yeah. And the noise coming out. It's like,
A lot of notes I read, you guys wrote like, up to 3 reps, it was fine, but reps 4 and 5, it's like a different ball game. So, yeah, I like that test. My story was, this was interesting. I did this on Saturday, actually. I wish I had done it Friday, just to feel stronger, but I came in on Saturday and did it. I kind of did the workouts in orders they were listed for no reason, really, just to make it simple, more simple in my brain. But I did the hold, and then I go in, I open at 320, I hit it fine, and then I open at 300, and then I do 320. And I finish, and I'm fired up, and then...
It was real heavy looking, too.
It was heavy. It beat the crap out of me. 1 rep, I came down, and it, like, hyperextended me in half. It looked like I'm doing a 320-pound natural knee extension.
Mike's, like, way far behind the barbell.
It just beat the shit out of me. And I'm like, all right, well, 6 minutes left. Like, I'll just call it there. And I, like, go and film the weights and turn the camera off. And Max comes up. He's like, hey, you might want to watch the video. Some of your reps, feet like weren't all together. And I was like, what the hell? Why didn't you tell me this before I turned the weight off, the camera off? And for a second, what went into my head was like, he did that on purpose. He knew that if he said something after I stopped the camera, so that I would be done instead of giving me a chance. So
that's actually what he told me.
Yeah.
I got the camera back out. I re-warmed up. And I gave myself a few minutes, and I tried it again. And the second time was just like, I got it done, but man, it took 5 years out of my life. It took a piece of my soul. That was brutal.
All right, CrossFit tests. So originally we wanted to do 20.1, and I wanted to write that more so as a challenge for people because I know that everybody's training is a little bit disorganized. People don't have that competitive fire, but most people that compete in CrossFit took the open really seriously. So like, all right, I have a data point of a time when I went there. Now let's try to hold that standard in a time where it's really hard. So I wanted that challenge, but we ended up deciding against that because a lot of people just wouldn't want the pressure at this time and didn't have a good 2 or 3 weeks of training as they first went into isolation. So we changed.
Look how out of shape you are.
Yeah, so we ended up switching it up, and I thought the test was actually pretty good. It actually felt easier to me than 20.1.
Yeah, it was. It stung, but definitely not as bad as 20.1.
Yeah, any notable stuff from that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the best times were those that were just really fast in the barbell and then just smooth in the burpees, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people came into it with strategy maybe of doing like, I'm gonna do, 4-4 or something like that, but then the breaks got longer and longer. You realize you go from 45 seconds around to a minute around, and then all of a sudden you're at 10 plus minutes. You watch Noah's video and it's just like fast the entire time. It's crazy how good the top guys and girls are.
Yeah,
And there's no break.
Yeah.
Right.
There's just no rest.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like with a workout like that, where the transitions are so important, I learned more of how important it is to not overpace in a workout like that. Yes, you need good pacing structure. You don't want to go out too fast, but like a lot of people are like, all right, I'm gonna start with like an EMOM pace, and then regardless, you're gonna get tired after 3 or 4 rounds. So you might as well just use a little bit of the extra speed you have in the beginning and hang on.
Bank some time.
It's uncomfortable to do that, and it sucks because nobody wants to be out of breath that quickly after 1 or 2 rounds in a workout like that, but I think that's just how those workouts are.
Yeah.
Like you got to expect that.
Yeah.
When you're 2 rounds in and it already hurts.
Yeah, but that's just
that's
how it is.
Yeah.
That is what the sport is now, especially for the qualifiers that we're
Yeah.
doing. The open, almost every single workout just really stings.
Yep.
I think you have to be aggressive. And again, that doesn't mean you're going 100%, but you have to go a little bit faster than you probably want to the first few rounds and then figure it out from there.
So I never want to go out.
Yeah.
I never want to be uncomfortable that soon.
All right, and then the last CrossFit test was the deadlift handstand one. I mean, that's just a common pattern in CrossFit. Diane, it's been in the open. So we really just wanted to give that, as there's a bunch of squatting in the workouts, and we knew that we weren't going to do that much gymnastics. We thought the hang could be done for most people like in a garage. They can't really kip. They can't do bar muscle ups. A lot of people didn't have rings. So that was our like one upper body pulling type stuff, and the gymnastics ended up just being more comfortable to be able to do pressing because you could press up against a tree or a wall.
Yeah.
So that was really more of a logistic test and something that we wanted to try out.
Yeah.
For me, it was just frustrating.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. That's probably my favorite one out of all of them.
Yeah,
Just,
that was my favorite test too.
Yeah, just like a good mix of It was hard, but it wasn't like a total beatdown, and I don't know, it was just a cool test.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else? That's the recap of all the tests. All right, so scores. So the way that we handled scores was we took everybody that finished all of the tests that put RX Plus and posted their videos into one leaderboard and deleted everybody else out. So that meant there were 11 females and 24 males out of the 1,000 people that signed up, essentially. We did make a couple exceptions. There were a couple people like from our community that put 7 tests in with videos and then their cameras died on the 8th or something like that. Where we're just like,
Coach
this is
was there watching the workout.
Yeah, and so this is like for fun, and we're not trying to like run a professional tested competition, but we wanted to keep it as legit as possible. So that's what we did, and that's how we organized it. And then we reseeded everybody. We gave all of the strength values half scores. So if you won a strength, instead of getting 1 point like you would on one of the CrossFit, you got half. So that way the strength was a third of the tests, the CrossFit was a third of the tests, and the engine was a third of the tests. After going through that, the order of basically the podium athletes would be Noah, Travis, and Evan Rogers would be first, second, third on the male side, and then Kalarina, Allie, and Mia Mellon would be the females 1, 2, and 3 overall. And then to see the winners from each of the workouts, you can just go directly to the Throwdown leaderboard and look for the RX Plus designation. The first one is the person that won the overall for that. So
yeah, special shout out to Evan Rogers. I was pretty fired up by his performance, and I thought the guy posted some really amazing scores in the group, and it was cool to see him post all his videos and like do it legit and like show up and put up some awesome scores. It was fun.
Yeah, and then a couple of them he was doing them by himself too.
Yeah.
The engine test, the run, and the air squats. He was just like on a road by himself. I watched that, reviewed that video, and I'm like, he pushed the entire time to get a decent score on it. So pretty cool to see people in the design community going out and doing all the workouts.
Yep.
Yeah, so prizes for that. I did get 2 special trophies. They're getting delivered, and they'll be here next week. So we'll put a little post out for those specially. What we're going to do is we're going to give everybody that submitted the scores shirts for free. Basically, this was for us not really about finding winners and losers and more about community building. So
who posted videos.
Who posted videos and RX Plus for all of the workouts. We know there might be some people out there, so this was an arduous process. I don't know if we'll actually do a competition.
We didn't think it through.
Sunday, I went cross-eyed looking at my computer, so yeah, that was an awful experience.
I was thinking about quitting.
I have PTSD.
I'm gonna call Max up and be like, hey, I gotta quit.
Yeah, so if you had all 8 in there or 7 and we knew an exception needed to be made, we took you in to that list. If there's somebody out there that did like 6 of them and just lost a video or we ended up missing it, just email us. We just wanted to really give a shirt as a thank you to the community of people that took it really seriously. So those will be the prizes, and we'll put like some sort of special designation on the shirt for the people that were on top of the podium just as an acknowledgement that you guys showed up at a time against everybody that was in the field, even though this was kind of more for fun than it was about like having a legit competition.
Yeah, I'd also like to say thank you to those, because there are plenty of people that inserted all 6 scores or inputted all 6 scores, but didn't put videos just because they didn't think they were going to be competitive, which is totally fine. Like, I mean, that's what I did.
Yeah.
I filmed all of them. I just didn't want to input my scores and skew leaderboards for some of the workouts or whatever. But I think it's really cool to have people that are inside our community, and then even those that signed up outside that still like went in and they were competitive. They did all the workouts. Even if you weren't necessarily competitive on the leaderboard, you're still willing to like, hey, I may get 200th place in this, but I want to like fight. And that's what our whole community is about, is like competing, yeah. Learning how to compete in an environment like this.
Yeah, so for everybody that is on this email or watching this video, we also have those shirts. You can go to the Training Think Tank and buy them if you want to just support the Quarantine Classic. This is pretty much the team and Chris behind the camera that threw it. So you can do that. And then also the platform that we're on that we use to kind of turn into a mock leaderboard is actually something that we use to write our design training program. And I think a lot of the themes that we put in testing, because they're based on the training paths, right? We have a strength path that's designed to get you stronger, an engine path that's designed to have a low mechanical stress, cyclical, high turnover type progression to get you better at all sorts of engine style stuff, and then a CrossFit path that's to get you better at the sport of CrossFit and all the skills of CrossFit. And then some people mix and match all those. So our tests, basically, we're in line with that. And we'll be putting out some more information about what our next training block is going to look like and what we're going to cover. But a lot of the themes that you saw in the actual testing body are how we're going to train to improve, like squat clean endurance, snatching under fatigue, overall strength levels, gymnastics capabilities, being good at the machines. So if you took part in the Quarantine Classic and you want some training moving forward that can help you get better at stuff like this or competitions that you do outside, you can check that out at trainingthinktank.com as well.
Cool. Thanks, guys.